Hey guys, I am talking about Cursed Child yet again because I have so much to say, possibly too much to say about Cursed Child, but I definitely wanted to make a video to talk about Rose Granger-Weasley because I have some interesting feelings on Rose. Ron and Hermione are my favorite Harry Potter characters, like my top favorite Harry Potter characters. I love them together. I love them individually. I just love Ron and Hermione. So before we knew much about the next generation kids, I didn't have strong feelings about any of them. Because Ron and Hermione are my favorite characters, I had a lot of hope for Rose in Cursed Child. I thought I could really like her because if she's like her mom and her dad, then if she inherited anything at all from them, I should like her, right? And I went into Cursed Child kind of expecting that. I also went into Cursed Child not prepared to fully love Scorpius Malfoy the amount I did because I'm not that fond of his father, and I already made a video about my love for Scorpius, so that probably should have been a big clue that I was not going to love Rose as much as I had expected. And I have so many thoughts about Rose in Cursed Child, and she's not even in it that much. I do think Rose is similar to Hermione and Ron. I could probably analyze certain aspects of her personality, like what we get to see in Cursed Child, that come from Hermione and that come from Ron. I can see it, but I also kind of feel after reading Cursed Child that Rose, at least what we get to see of her in Cursed Child, and like I said, we do not see her that much, so she could have more redeeming qualities that we don't see in the play, especially considering circumstances. She's still really terrible to Albus and Scorpius, and nothing excuses that, but she could have some more redeeming qualities that we don't see. But I do get where she could have inherited some of those bad qualities from Ron and Hermione. I just kind of feel like we get to see the worst aspects of Ron and Hermione in her in Cursed Child, which bothers me because I mean, I don't even think I need to explain why it bothers me. I also think that something that Rose has that Ron and Hermione didn't have that's had an effect on her personality is being raised by two members of the Golden Trio and knowing that her parents are important people, and her mother is Minister for Magic. And I do get the impression from Cursed Child that that's kind of gone to her head. She had an opposite reaction to it than Albus did. And we only see a little bit of James in Cursed Child too, but I think James is in a similar position to Rose in that they're very proud to be the children of their parents and fully embrace it, and are probably a little arrogant about it, whereas Albus rejects it and wants nothing to do with it. And I do think that that's had an effect on Rose's personality too, and I do get that makes sense to me. I do get why that would be the case. Rose in Cursed Child also really makes me wonder what Hugo is like. I feel in most of the fanfiction I read, Hugo is portrayed as a really sweet kid. I haven't read any fanfiction that's about the kids for a while, so I could be remembering wrong, but I always feel he's always a smaller part in fanfiction, but he's usually portrayed as this really nice little kid sort of thing. And if he was, that would be some interesting dynamics with Rose, but I do really wonder what he would be like in Cursed Child, and I have no answers because Hugo is not in Cursed Child. Hugo's not even on the platform. He's in the epilogue of the Harry Potter book, but then they cut him out of the scene in Cursed Child. Why couldn't he have at least been standing there? And then we get to see Lily sorted, but we don't get to see Hugo sorted, and I think he's mentioned twice or something, but he's never there, which is sad, and I really wonder what he's like. Big reason why I wanted to make a video about Rose is because I feel Cursed Child tried to redeem her at the end and it failed miserably. She is horrible to Albus and Scorpius throughout the play when she actually like pays attention to them, and does not come across well at all. We don't see her do anything particularly horrible, but the fact that she's so like she shuns her cousin so easily for so long, I feel is like a pretty terrible sign. And then at the end she just like suddenly showed like all she does is say hi to them. It is true, so it's not like a complete 180 out of nowhere, but still at the same time, I'm not sure if the intentions for how things ended with Rose and Cursed Child were supposed to be like, look, everything's great now, or I don't even know what else. But the way that handled, and I've talked about this before, but the way that like that scene plays out with Scorpius like asking Rose out and then like declaring he's going to marry her someday, but also like Rose's sudden willingness to like be friendly with them was strange to me, didn't seem realistic, and I didn't like it. I would have preferred for the play to not have that scene, even though that would mean that like Rose never got like redemption, I guess. I don't, that sounds the wrong word, but I honestly think that would have been better than the strange scene we got. I do think that Rose is a good person ultimately. I think she was someone, I mean, she was only 11 through 14 in Cursed Child, so she's young and immature, obviously. I don't think that she's like a horrible villain or something. I'm willing to accept a characterization of her that portrays her as this kind of not like the greatest person, but the last scene makes it weird. That being said, I do wish we could have gotten like a betrayal in the play where she kind of gradually realizes that she's wrong. I think that could have been done if she'd been included in the events of the play more. Obviously she disappears from existence for the entire like middle part of the play, and I do think it would have been nice to see her kind of realizing she's wrong in the play. I don't think that happens in Cursed Child, even though we have that one strange scene at the end. We don't really see her realize she's wrong. We don't see her like gain that awareness, and I think it would have been nice, even if it was only one scene, to have actually seen her or hear her admit in some way that she realizes she was wrong, because she doesn't really like, because she doesn't do that in Cursed Child, which I think is one of the big things that makes that turnaround for her seem so unrealistic at the end of Cursed Child and strange. Of all of the new characters we got in Cursed Child, mainly the children, I think I'm still trying to like figure Rose out more than any of the others. I don't exactly know how I feel about her. Kind of neutrally, I guess, right now. I think I've mentioned a couple times in videos when talking about Cursed Child that Cursed Child kind of inspired me to write a Harry Potter fanfiction for the first time in like 5 years, I think. And it's kind of like, I don't want to call it an alternate Cursed Child, but it's disregarding Cursed Child mostly, but I'm including some of the elements that I liked from it. And one of the things with that story is I did kind of use Cursed Child's characterization of Rose, but I really want her to like in the story actually like show her learn over time that she's like wrong and not in the right and that sort of thing. So I do think that that can be a really interesting thing to explore. I'm having fun with it so far, so that's why I'm not like entirely against Cursed Child's characterization of Rose. I just wish like some things have been handled differently, which is, I feel like, is a theme with Cursed Child for me. I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think about Rose after reading Cursed Child, and I will see you guys later. Bye.